Well, happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Sherry.
Yes, we're still experiencing Easter. So, hello to everyone this morning. My name is Sherry Johnstone. All are invited to join us for a time of worship. Whether you're returning or this is your first time, whether you're in person with us or if you're online. Some of us are bringing our best selves to this space, and some of us are bringing our struggling selves. All are welcome here, and all of us are loved. Some of us already have open hearts, and some of us aren't quite there yet, because our hearts have gotten a little beat up this week, and you might have forgotten how to trust and open. Your heart is welcome here, no matter how bruised. We welcome you among us. All of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. We invite you to experience our service.
Well, thank you, Sherry. I join my voice and welcome as well. We come here celebrating the goodness of God's love found in all of creation. It occurs to me that if horses could speak, they would describe God as a horse. And we humans in our Holy Scriptures, we say that we are made in the image of God. And I think both would be right, because we are all part of that incredible mystery that has created all this in 14.5 billion years. To be able to create this intrinsic beauty of life and of love is just amazing. And so we come to open our eyes that God is everywhere. I don't know about you, but I grew up wondering, where's God and how can I know there's a God? When really, when you look around in awe at the majesty of this incredible world we're on, and we see how nature provides for us and how Mother Nature is so good to us, we're getting reconnected to that. It was lost about 700 years ago when we moved into the dark ages, but we're moving into the light. And our band's going to sing about that. It says there's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So.
The birds they sing at the birthday. Start again. I heard them say, don't dwell on what is passed away, or what is yet to be. Oh, the wars, they will be fought again. The holy dove, she will be caught again. Body, soul, and body again. forever free. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We ostracize, the signs we sent, the birth betrayed, the marriage spent, the widowhood of every government, signs for all to see. I can't run no more with this lawless crowd, while the killers in high places say their prayers out loud. And they've summoned up a thundercloud, and they're gonna hear from me. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. You can add up the parts, but you won't get the sum. You can strike up the march, there is no drum. Every heart to love will come, like a refugee. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Oh, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. How the light gets in. That's how the light gets in.
Let's stand and, yes,
Jody McDonald.
let's stand and celebrate our God who is relentless, that the light gets in. And so let's sing a chorus we all know. God's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world
in his hands.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world
in his hands.
He's got the whole
world in his hands. He's
got the emu and the platypus in her hand. She's got the aardvark and the alligator in her hand. She's got the monkey and mollusks in her hand. She's got the whole world in her hand.
She's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
She's got the tiny little insects in her hands. She's got the great big rhinos in her hands. She's got the in-between wallabies in her hands. She's got the whole world in her hands. Here we go.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
He's got the whole world in his hands. She's got the birds in the sky in her hands. She's got the fish in the sea in her hands. She's got every creature here in her hands. She's got the whole world 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 in her hands.
All right, please remain standing as we connect to the infinite. God be with you.
Also with you.
Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to God. Creativity and being is who you are, and so wanting to dance in the arms of your beloveds, you came to us in creation's forms, to breathe your own air in lungs, to feel your own dirt underfoot, to drink your own water for the quenching of holy thirst. Like fresh rain in a drought, like sunshine breaking through clouds, like morning dew after a long night, pour out your spirit upon us gathered here. And so let us sing, all things bright and beautiful.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, in love God made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, God made their glowing colors, God made their tiny wings. The purple-headed mountains, the river running by, the sunset and the morning that brightens up the sky. The cold wind in the winter, the pleasant summer sun, the ripe fruits in the garden, God made them every one. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, in love God made them all. The rocky mountains' splendor, the lone wolf's haunting call, the great lakes and the prairies, the forest in the fall. God gave us eyes to see them, and lips that we might tell how great is God our Maker, who has made all things well. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, in love God made them all.
God, our Maker, mystery of life and love, we come giving thanks for all the wonders of your creation, the great theater of your glory. We praise you for the detailed perfection revealed in a baby's tiny fingers, for the wisdom and growth that comes with age, for your glory seen in pussy willows greeting the spring, and in each rock face worn by wind and water. These details fill us with wonder and awe and lift our hearts to praise you. So may the details of the stories of Jesus' great love lift our hearts this day, that we too may discover him in our midst, making all things new with the springtime of your Spirit. And these things we pray as Jesus taught us to pray to you as our mother and as our Father, who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated.
Before I share some announcements with you, I'm just going to call Austin up to do an announcement before I start.
Thank you, Sherry. Officially into the mic. Also, hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, Austin.
Good morning. Happy Easter. So we have an Earth Day event coming up this Saturday, and it's going to be held at Central United. That'll be from 3:30 to 4:30, where we're picking up garbage, and then from 4:30 to 5. Shirley Broadbent and I have actually decided we're going to make some finger sandwiches, and I'm going to make some jugs of juice and some other fun, refreshments. So we'll have some light refreshments afterwards, so you don't have to feel all tuckered out after you've picked up all that garbage. There will be a nice, treat waiting for you at the end too. But I was saying people should sign up, but honestly, if you just want to show up, bring your friends, bring your family, bring your neighbor's dog. Honestly, it's just as many people as we can get out, we'll be able to pick up more, and we'll have the Railway City shining in no time. So
Is that Earth Day?
That'll be Earth Day, on April 22nd.
So this is a present to Mother Earth.
Exactly, that's
All
exactly
righty.
what it is. So I think it's probably the most appropriate way to celebrate Easter, if you ask me. So please join us. Don't be afraid. And like I said, don't worry about signing up. And for the first few people who come, there may be some T-shirts that I'm testing out the design on. So we'll see if people like that. All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Sherry.
Thank you, Austin. This mic is not for tall people, I'll tell you right now. Even Richard can testify to that. And I don't talk very loud. It feels like I'm screaming at you. So I'd ask you to make sure you check out your email that you get every week to see what the community is doing. It includes youth group choir, the food providers group, which explains in the email what that's about, and the YATS forum. I didn't know what a YAT was. It used to be called Youth Forum, if I remember right. So if you don't know what a YAT is, it's called Young Adults Together. So it's a weekend that young adults come together and the weekend's planned. And I've heard nothing but good things about Youth Forum and the connections that are made there. I believe it's at Lambton Center this year. I believe it was at Pierce Williams last year. But the deadline was Friday. So if you really want to go, if you know someone who wants to go, you might want to get on the phone or on the email about it. And on a sadder note, Kim Hewson's brother passed away this week. His name was Rod Shaw. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Hewson family and the Shaw family. And I know Reverend Paul's going to include that in our prayer at the end of the service today. My final announcement is about, of course, you've seen that today is our First United Annual General Meeting. And there are reports around if you don't have one with you. I know they were also emailed out, but also there are manual copies on site if you want one before the meeting. And I just want to share that The meeting will be in the sanctuary, but we're going to have like a 5-minute break from the service to the meeting. So there will be some special cupcakes made by Debbie, and grab a drink and come back to the sanctuary. So, because we'll need about 5 minutes for setup, but come back to the sanctuaries because we'll start the meeting right after as soon as we can. So those who want to go out for lunch or whatever can still do that. But I also want to share with you that this is not just a report. This is a story, and it's a nonfiction story. This is story. It is a story that affected all of us. In this report are many smaller stories and testimonials about the year 2022. 3 years ago, we had no idea what the future of this faith community would be. This report is something to be celebrated. From where we were to where we are, what a journey we've been on. It took staff, volunteers using their time, talents, and gifts with a lot of God's help to have a story like this one. Some churches, I was talking to Reverend Darrell by email this week, and there are churches that are having their last annual meeting because they're closing or they're already closed. This report is created for all of us to document our history, see and read the stories. Today, each of us has a vote and a voice because you are part of the past story and the future one. Already, the story for 2023 is being written. There are still visions and goals for the future of us as a faith community. And as Reverend Paul says, we are a tribe. The meeting will be live streamed today. Justin will be watching for questions from the online people, but we ask those online people to be patient because it depends how many questions are coming in to try to capture those. For those who are impatient, Richard Auckland has offered his phone to text him. And for those who have a pen in their hand at home, his number is 519-860-0381. So I invite everyone to be part of the meeting after the service today. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. We give thanks that God is up to something in our world, in our community, in this church, in our lives. And we give thanks that we participate in what God's up to through our offerings, the dedication of our intentionality each day as we try to give a kind word to someone who could use it, our volunteerism, our gifts to charities. We had a great presentation of legacy gifts, and that's going to be online, isn't it, Richard? And here's a cool little thing I didn't know. So just say, and for those of you who hate math, just forgive me. So just say you bought some stocks 20 years ago at, $2,000, and say they're worth $10,000 today. Well, if you take that $10,000 out, you're going to be taxed on that capital gain, the $8,000. You're going to have to pay $4,000 of that in taxes. But if you give that $10,000 to a charity, like First, for example, then you get a receipt for the entire $10,000, and there's no taxes taken off, so the church gets all the $10,000. So there you go. These were the cool ideas we got, and I found it very exciting and wonderful. And so we're going to sing a chorus now as we offer to God a portion of what God's given to us as we partner with God in the creation of a better world. So let's stand and sing together. What can I do? And let's have the children, the church band.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I sing?
What can I bring?
What can I say?
What can I say?
What can I say?
What can I sing?
I'll sing with joy.
I'll sing with joy.
I'll say a prayer.
I'll say a prayer.
I'll bring my love.
I'll bring my love.
I'll do my share. What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I bring?
What can
What can I say?
What can I say?
What can I say?
What can I sing?
I'll sing with joy.
I'll sing with joy.
I'll say a prayer.
I'll say a prayer.
I'll bring my
I'll
love.
bring my love.
I'll do my share.
I'll do my share.
And the people of God said,
Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Well, have you enjoyed the nice weather this week? You like the nice weather? Or was it too hot? Were you all sad that it was so warm? No, it was all good. That's good. All right. And what I love about warm weather is you can get outside, right? And you know what I used to love to do as soon as it got warm? You wouldn't even know what it is anymore. I used to play marbles. And I'm going to have to teach you guys sometime how to play marbles. This is a lot of fun, but it's got to be warm enough to make a hole in the ground with your heel. And then you start tossing marbles. If you have a lucky game, you can go home with more marbles than you came with. All right, I want you to look at a slide of a friend of mine. So could we go to a slide here? There. That's a little fuzzy up there, but what do you see in this? It's a little clearer here too on this monitor. This monitor here. Oh, this is probably in the way. Let's gently move the earth here. Let's see, where do we put this? There we go. All right.
He's got the whole
world in his hands. All right. So what do you see in that picture? Yeah. Yeah, but that's a good start. It's not basketball though. Guess what it is? It's rugby. Yeah. In fact, and I don't know whether you know about rugby. Rugby is like football, except there's no equipment. And you can just grab that ball any way you can. It's a wonder they aren't killed, but they call it murder ball. That's what they call this wheelchair rugby. And he is a member at my wife's church. And his name is Dave Wilsey. And so guess how Dave got in a wheelchair? What happened to him? He was playing hockey. He was a great hockey player, destined to go to the NHL. And he was in junior A, he was in high school, and he got hit and his spine cracked, and he lost the use of his legs. Now, how do you think you'd feel if that happened? I mean, what do you think? Yeah. Yeah, upset. Yeah, how else? Yeah. Yeah, and he was planning on, having a career in it. So yeah, heartbroken's a good word too, and just depressed and, just kind of wanting to give up on life. But as you see, he didn't. And he became the captain of the Paralympics rugby team. And they were in 5 Olympics. He was a captain for 15 years, and they got gold medals twice. So how does someone who has that terrible accident not give up on life? And that's what I asked him when I was chatting to him about this. And his answer was similar to what Terry Fox said. What did Terry Fox say? Do you remember in that interview on CBC I heard when he was running across Canada? Barbara Frum actually interviewed him. And what did he say kept him going when his leg was hurting? Yeah. His family and his church family. He was a United Church fellow too, like Dave. And his faith, his sense of God with him. When he was late at night and there was hardly anybody around, that kept him going. And so the same thing with Dave. I said, Dave, how did you get the energy to come back and to have a life in sports? And he said, well, my family was so supportive, and my church family. He was a member at Sue's church, St. Andrews. And he said, they just all rallied around. They'd bring food. They'd just do anything, help me go to appointments of physio day in and day out. So my mom and dad didn't have to do it all. And so knowing that he had a whole community, and also he grew up in the country. And when you grow up in the country as farmers, you feel close to nature, and you realize that force in nature, kind of what Star Wars calls the Force. Have you seen Star Wars, any of you? Yeah, that when we talk about God, we're talking about the force, right? And how that was with him. And so he's an amazing person. He's retired now and he's moved into coaching. So we give thanks for that. And a story we're going to be looking at in church today is when Jesus was on the cross dying. He was so connected to that love that he was able to care for others. When he was dying on the cross, he said, God, forgive these people who are crucifying me. They don't really know what they're doing. I mean, isn't that amazing? And then he said to his mom was there, and one of his best friends, John, was there. And even when he was dying, he says, Mom, take John as your son. And John, take care of my mother as your mother. She's your mother now. And so then they lived together so that John could take care of Mary, Jesus' mother. And Mary could be with John. And so he was able to reach out even while he was dying on a cross because he had that connection to community, to God, and to life. And so that's what we celebrate. And we're connected to nature too. And we're going to, Siobhan, my daughter's here, and she's been a camp counselor for years. And so we're going to teach the congregation a camp song. So she's going to stand here and she's going to teach you the actions. You guys are going to stand up here and then we're going to do the actions so that they can do them with us. Okay. And it's a kind of repeat after me song. So she'll tell you what to do. All right. So let's all stand. Oh, and while we're doing this, I just want to let you know, we're going to do an experiment. You're going to do an experiment in camp today, church camp. Yeah, you're going to do an experiment to see what the difference is in terms of what you're able to do when you've got more connection. Okay, so I'll just put that out there. All right, so Siobhan's going to lead us in the green grass grew all around, all around. All right.
All right, so if you guys turn around, you can see the lyrics too, which might help you guys a little bit.
But you don't you repeat after you?
Yeah, so it's repeat after me for the first part, and the second part's all together. So we'll go through it once, and you guys will get the hang of it. So. Oh, in the woods.
Oh, in the woods.
There was a tree.
There was a tree.
The prettiest tree.
The prettiest tree.
You ever did see.
That you ever did see.
Then we say this part all together. And the tree was in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. All right, and we're going to keep adding to it. And that's how that song goes. So, and on that tree.
And on that tree.
There was a limb.
There was a limb.
The prettiest little limb.
Prettiest little limb.
That you ever did see.
That you ever did see.
And the limb was on the tree, and the tree is in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that limb.
And on that limb.
There was a branch.
There was a branch.
The prettiest branch.
The prettiest little branch.
That you ever did see.
That you ever did see.
And the branch was on the limb, and the limb was on the tree, and the tree was in the hole of the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And on that branch.
And on that branch.
There was a nest.
There was a nest.
The prettiest nest.
The prettiest little nest.
That you ever did see.
That you ever did see.
And the nest was on the branch, and the branch was on the limb, and the limb was on the tree, and the tree was in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And in that nest.
And in that nest.
There was an egg.
There was an egg.
The prettiest egg.
The prettiest egg.
That you ever did see.
That you ever did see.
And the egg was in the nest, and the nest was on the branch, and the branch was on the limb, and the limb is on the tree, and the tree was in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around. And in that egg.
And in that egg.
There was a bird.
There was a bird.
The prettiest bird.
The prettiest bird.
That you ever did see.
That you ever did see.
And the bird was in the egg, and the egg was in the nest, and the nest was on the branch, and the branch was on the limb, and the limb was on the tree, and the tree was in the ground, and the green grass grew all around and around, and the green grass grew all around.
All right.
And that's done? Okay.
All right. Have a good time. Sunday camp.
Hear these ancient and good words. The goodness of life from Song of Songs, chapter 4. You have ravished my heart, my dear one. You have ravished my heart with a glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How sweet is your love! How much better is your love than wine, and your fragrance than any spice. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind. Blow upon my garden, that its fragrance may be wafted abroad. Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its choicest fruits. Eat, friends, drink and be drunk with love. And now the struggle of life from St. John chapter 19. Standing near the cross of Jesus, were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. May the wisdom in these stories inform, inspire our living. Amen.
So we have blessed communion juice and bread at the back and the center. If anyone would like to take it during this song, you can avail yourself of that. I'm going to sing a song called "She Give Me Crazy Love." We need to reclaim the feminine of God, not out of political correctness, but great damage has been done to all of us by seeing God as simply masculine. I mean, in the Bible, the Spirit of God is always the feminine. In the Christian church, all the cathedrals which were built by the 13th century were dedicated to the goddess Mary. There was a complete integration and understanding that you only get life with the mixture of the masculine and the feminine. And so when we think of ourselves as in God's image, that includes the feminine. We all have the feminine within us. We all have a part of the masculine within us. We're not talking about genders, we're talking about energies. And so this is a song celebrating that love that comes to us in many different ways. To a lover, a friend, through Mother Nature, through our experience of Jesus. I can hear her heartbeat from 1,000 miles. Hear the heavens open every time she smiles. When I come to her, that's where I belong. And I'm running to her like a razor song. She give me love, 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 crazy love. She give me love, 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 crazy love. She got a fine sense of humor when I'm feeling low down. And I come to her when the sun goes down. Take away my troubles, take away my grief, take away my heartaches in the night like a thief. She give me love, 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 crazy love. She give me love, 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 crazy love. And I need her in the daytime.
And I need her.
I need her in the night.
And I need her.
And I want to throw my arms
and I need her.
Kiss and hug her, kiss and hug her. When I'm returning from so far away, she give me some sweet love and brighten up my day. And it make me righteous, it make me whole, and it make me mellow right down my soul. She give me love,
Love, love, love, love, crazy love.
she give me love,
Love, love, love, crazy love.
she give me
Love, 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 crazy love.
she give me love,
Love, love, love, crazy love.
I guess it's time for me to preach. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Riddle me this. I washed my face in water that had neither rained nor run, and I dried it on a towel that was never woven or spun. So let's get the first one. I washed my face in water that had neither rained nor run. What water? They run. Good guess. Can you think of another way that water comes to us that doesn't run? What's that? Dew. That's it. That's it. Excellent. And I dried it on a towel that was never woven or spun. What might the towel be? You know, that could work too. It's not the one I was looking for, but that's pretty good. What else? What could dry? There we go, the wind. All right, good stuff. You guys go to the head of the class. So our ancestors did this on the first day of May. With Earth Day and the first day of May coming up soon, that kind of inspired me for this service today. Our ancestors used to do this on the first day of May. They didn't take Mother Nature for granted. They knew in a very personal way, as all indigenous people do, how amazing Mother Nature is and how dependent we are on her generosity. They knew that their lives came from Mother Nature and were sustained by her. They knew she was divine. They knew that God was in the air, the water, the soil, and flesh. And they made up stories to extol the virtues of being close to Mother Nature. So it was said that washing one's face in May's dew made a woman's face more beautiful, without exception. For everything Mother Nature creates is beautiful in God's sight. And if she was daring enough and rolled around in the dew naked, it made her spirit more beautiful, since the greatest beauty comes from within. Don't you think if the church was operating out of this kind of a framework, people would be a lot more enthusiastic about coming to church? Yeah, exactly. This is what we got to get back in touch with, right? And it was said, if a man washed his face in the morning dew, he gained skills in opening knots and locks and in mending nets and disentangling ropes. Because, of course, Mother Nature in spirit is wisdom, right? And if he desired to roll around naked in the dew, his character too was blessed with greater wisdom that opened the mind to greater possibilities and unlocked his heart to greater love, thus giving him the capacity to mend relationships and disentangle from whatever was weighing him down. And if two people happen to bump into one another while rolling naked in the dew, then they might start talking like our scripture passage from the Song of Songs. How sweet is your love? How much better is your love than wine, and your fragrance than any spice? Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind. Blow upon my garden that its fragrance may be wafted abroad. Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its choicest fruits. Eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. The stories of virtues of bathing in May's morning dew and the scorching language of romance and passion in the Song of Songs from the Bible both point to a spiritual reality that society and particularly religion has forgotten. And that is our connection with one another and with Mother Earth that deepens our love and our passion for living. We often know what the right thing to do is, but it's in the connection to gratitude and awe for what is created and is being created around us that enables us to feel part of the divine mystery that we call God, and it gives us energy. It energizes us to do the good. It's experiencing all of life, flesh and spirit, as sacred, that puts fuel in our gas tanks so that we've got the energy to do what we need to do. Nothing improves our spirit and our actions more than seeing nature and our lives as holy, as God-breathed, as sacred. God's presence and love are available to us in greater measure than we have known or countenanced for many years. Go roll in the dew. Go deeper with one another and feel the love of our divine Mother. Sing with me. She gives me love, 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 crazy love. She gives me love, 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 crazy love. You know, I was in Tupperville. I served the first 7 years in ministry in Tupperville, a farming community. And where's Tupperville, you might say? I remember back in those days, you were like drafted like the ball teams, and you were told where you were going. I was on the phone with maps, and I got the call from London Conference. You're going to Tupperville, and I looked in the map. Ontario wasn't even there. But it was a little hamlet in between Dresden and Wallaceburg. And I had a wonderful time. They really did a great job training me to be a pastor. But you know, it was my experience that the farmers that worked with animals had more patience and had a gentleness to them that was beyond what I generally experienced in men. And the cash croppers, the farmers that just, put in the, corn, soybean, that kind of stuff. I mean, they were wonderful people too, but these, it makes sense. These men who were midwives to their cattle and to the pigs and all their animals and lambs and caring for them 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They had this wonderful gentleness. Not that they weren't tough and strong and independent, but they had that wonderful, their feminine energy showed itself in very pleasing ways. I remember Ken Wade. He went to the nursing home 3 times a day for 18 years to feed his wife, who was in long-term care because of a serious stroke. And I overheard someone saying to him once, Ken, that's amazing. How can you do that? He says, why wouldn't I be doing that? I've been feeding my animals 3 times a day for 50 years. I mean, I'm not going to go see my wife, right? And I just love that attitude. It just spoke to my soul. Being in touch with Mother Nature kept Ken in touch with what mattered the most. And it gave him the perspective and energy to do it, feeling that it was a blessing rather than a chore. Not only that, when Ken's wife died, Mother Nature blessed him with a wonderful marriage with an amazing woman who had been one of his wife's nurses. Love and kindness and connection leads to love and kindness and connection. Love is available, friends, beyond what we even imagine. Mother and Father God is generous. Eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. She gives me love, 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 crazy love. She gives me love, 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 crazy love. Every one of us can have more love and then have more love to give. It's in you, it's in me, it's in Mother Earth. But like an electrical outlet, we need to connect to it for the juice to flow. We need to love our mother and to find God in everything, because deep love brings us through deep waters. As Dave Wilsey, and last week we talked about Terry Fox, how they discovered that deep love through connection that enabled them to overcome what life had done to them. Our New Testament story is Jesus nailed to a cross in shame and disgrace, naked so that all could see that he was circumcised, that he was a Jew. The emperor's message was clear. If you Jews oppose us and break our laws, this is how you will end up. And in actual fact, the cross was not on a picturesque hill. They put the crosses on the intersections of the main thoroughfares so that everybody going to Jerusalem and leaving Jerusalem would see them. And that's about as awful as it gets. It's right up there with vans running over innocent people, burning women alive, and trafficking on the misery of refugees. But Jesus lived his life with a passionate love and connection to God through his connections with all kinds of people, people that the religious leaders turned their backs on. He found the divine connection with them and with Mother Nature. His parables were all about nature as examples of the divine. And so even as evil was cracking the hopes and dreams of Jesus and his community, the light of love shone through. Jesus has a capacity to love and care for his mother and his friend on the cross, a love that transcends his own suffering. He is able to utter words of forgiveness despite his own suffering. Easter proclaims that evil cannot extinguish grace and love. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And that light is love. Love transcends gender identity. Love transcends sexual orientation. Love transcends family. Love transcends suffering. Love transcends death. We don't have to be smarter to face the problems of this world and the problems that you and I will face this week. We don't even have to work harder. We don't need to be more perfect. A perfect offering is not required, which is good because it's not possible. Just let the light shine in. Let the love flow. She give me love, 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 crazy love. She gave me love, 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 crazy love. And so we come connecting with Spirit today, that we might have the life and the love that we need to be the people we've been created to be, to feel the joy of partnering with God into making someone's life a little better, making our families what they can be. And so we're going to begin our prayers. Spirit of life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blowing the wind, rise in the sea, moving the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots of me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. O Spirit of life, the resurrected Christ ministered peace to his friends and to the new friends they made as people joined in a movement of loving kindness in all aspects of life. Thank you for strengthening our faith as we join together as friends, seeking to live faithful and meaningful lives of loving kindness in all aspects of our lives. Give us inner sight to see that all of life is sacred, for you meet us in all aspects of living. Your good earth nurtures our bodies. Beauty and pleasure warm our hearts. We are so grateful. You give us courage to face our fears and struggles, patience to endure moments when the way ahead is not clear, and resilience to meet changing realities. We remember the passing of Rod, and we ask that you will be powerfully with his loved ones, his family and friends who miss him and mourn him. May they experience what they will experience, and we give thanks how his love will still be with them, how they'll still be remembering him and thinking of him. Now we name in silence other challenges and concerns that we have with him. Dear Jesus, lover of the world, we pray for many places of brokenness in our world. We think especially of those weighed down by economic pressures, for the people and communities at odds over policies and opinions. May values of fairness and truth and compassion lead to helpful compromises. We pray for the earth itself under the impact of human activity, and for those working to protect its future. We lift up in prayer the voices of indigenous and racialized people, as well as the voices of people in the global south, all of whom are disproportionately impacted by the climate crisis. Grant the earth and all its peoples your gifts of hope and healing. Faithful God, we pray for those who struggle with their past experiences of church. Open them to your love and grace, so that any pain any church has caused will be healed. Guide us here at First in our meeting today and in all our deliberations to know how to live in ways that create pathways for encountering your presence and love within and without. For in you we live and move and have our being.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold it close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Amen. Our final hymn, God who gives to life its goodness.
God who gives to life its goodness, God creator of all joy, God who gives to us our freedom, God who blesses tool and toy. Teach us now to laugh and praise you, deep within your praises sing, till the whole creation dances for the goodness of its King. God who fills the earth with beauty, God who binds each friend to friend, God who names us co-creators, God who feels that chaos end. Grant us now, creative Spirit, minds responsive to your mind, hearts and wills, your rule extending, all our acts by love refined.
So may we have eyes to see the way the Creator has created beauty and pleasure for us. And may we receive those as gifts from God, so that they may translate into love that we can then share with others. And take with you the blessing of God, the source of love, of Jesus Christ, that love revealed in human form, and the Holy Spirit, love's power in us, today and evermore. Amen.
You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace, and the mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the fields will clap their hands. The trees of the fields will clap their hands while you go out with joy. You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace, and the mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. All the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the fields will clap their hands. The trees of the fields will clap their hands while you go out with joy. If you have some time, join us for some delightful Debbie, what are they, cookies, donuts? What have we got?
Cupcakes.
All right, cupcakes. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will for all my days. Oh, yes, I will. And I choose to pray.
Glorify, glorify.
Name of all names.
That nothing can stand against.
And I choose to pray.
Glorify, glorify.
Name of all names.
That nothing can stand against.
And I choose to praise.
Glorify, glorify.
The name of all names.
That nothing can stand against.
And I choose to praise.
Glorify, glorify.
The name of all names. That nothing can stand again. Oh, yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh, yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will for all my days. Oh, yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will. Stick around for our AGM and Debbie's muffins and cupcakes.
For those of you here, by all means, grab a coffee, whatever, bring it back in here. For those of you at home, take a moment and go to the washroom or whatever, and come on back and join us. The stream will remain on, so you can join us from there. Thanks so much, and we'll see you shortly.
My hands are sweating. I was getting clammy hands
Oh.
today. That's the first.
That spirit thing was all of us.
We have Paul doing opening prayer. So he's got to come up.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to just do an opening prayer and then go into it?
Sure.
Paul, do you want to do your opening prayer first and then we'll do the welcome after that? Yes, true. Okay. Perfect. Okay. We are going to get started. It is 11:45, and again, if you need a copy of the annual report, they are located here on the piano below me here. For those of you online, Lori did send them out electronically, so you can have a look there. Okay. Again, I'm just going to repeat my phone number if you do have a question throughout. 519-860-0381. And hopefully there's no scammers listening. Anyway, thank you. The one thing I just wanted to highlight is we thank Lori for stepping in as secretary this morning. Erin Shute is normally our secretary, but she has offered to look after the kids. So again, it highlights the need for more volunteers for things, whether it's the board, whether it's for coffee, whether it's childcare, whatever. So know that your services are always appreciated. And I think I will turn it over to Mark. We're tag teaming today.
And interestingly enough, Richard, I had you down for adoption of agenda, but
Yes, I am. Did you have any words of welcome you wanted to say? Or?
welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying to join us in person. And for those that are online, we appreciate that as well. We'll try to keep it moving along, but certainly if you have any questions, please, now is the perfect time to raise your hand and ask those questions. Thank you.
Perfect. And item number 3 on the adoption of the agenda, is the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything anybody would like added to the agenda at this point? We skipped 2 because Paul had done an opening prayer on during his prayers. So we thank you for that. Again, swift movement through. Would somebody like to move the adoption of the agenda? Karen Auckland, seconded. Chris Ross. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next on the agenda, a motion to allow members not on the historic roll to have voting privileges. Can we get a mover of that? Lily? Seconder? Sherry? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carried.
And the adoption of the minutes from the 2022 annual general meeting of March 6th, 2022, and August 14th, 2022, and those are in the annual report. First of all, can we have a mover? Chris Ross, seconder. Joe Hill. And any questions or omissions or errors that need to be corrected from those? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So we're moving into committee reports, and before we get into the individual reports, Reverend Paul, we thought we'd have you come up to speak briefly to a proposal for committee structure.
So we're going to do a year trial of a simplified committee structure. We're actually going back to the first beginnings of the United Church. This was pretty well used by all United Churches for the first 40, 50 years. But as some churches got larger, they created more independent committees. So what we're going to do is we're going to create basically 2 committees. One will be called the session, and that's made up of the worship committee and the membership committee, and also the CE committee as they feel need to, because they will also be meeting with the central Christian Ed committee too, because they share resources and ideas and that sort of thing. So we have the session with worship and with membership and sometimes CE, and that's the session. And then we have property and finance, and they're the stewards. So what that does is we don't have to worry then about a committee with only 2 people on it. It's a whole lot more fun and better wisdom and a sense of support to have like 8 or 9 people who can share a discussion on things with certain people who have particular areas of responsibility. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's kind of what we're up to. And of course, the official board continues to meet.
Thank you very much, Reverend Paul. The order of the reports that's on the last page of the annual report, we'll just follow that as presented. So Christian Development is the first committee report. The author of that, could we get the author of that report to stand just to be available for any questions that might come up? Or the author may want to speak to it. Okay. No. Okay, if no questions regarding that particular report, we'll move on to finance then. Don is the chair of Finance Committee. Are there any questions regarding the report listed in the annual report? This is not the budget consideration, which will follow later on. This is just the report. No questions? Okay, thanks, Don. And then membership. We've got 3 people here from membership. We've got Debbie. Oh, Aaron is with the children. And who's our third?
Carol.
Oh,
who's in
right.
Italy.
Carol is vacationing right now. Okay, if not, Ministry and Personnel. I'm the chair of Ministry and Personnel. There is a report in the annual report as well. I did want to offer thanks. I guess Joan has left. We lost a couple of members from our committee. Ray Bosveld and Joan both stepped down officially in 2022. So it's a pretty lean committee of one right now. So I reach out to everyone that's here and to those online. Despite what Paul has talked about with regard to the committee structure, in essence, we do need to have a minimum of 3 people on that committee. So I ask that if you're at all interested in working with me, I'm going to hang around as part of that group. But if there are others, this is my latest plea for assistance for that group. But otherwise, the report is self-explanatory.
Mark has broad shoulders, but he could really use some help. So if anybody has that as a calling, please speak to Mark or anybody, and we'd be glad to have you.
Next one on the list is property. Chair of property is Justin. So Justin's available for any questions that there might be of that report. Okay, I guess not. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for preparing the report. Worship and music, joint worship and music. Richard? Okay, we'll keep moving along then. Trustees, I don't know if there will be anything to highlight on that one or not, Richard?
My report was rather lengthy, so lots of information there. The one thing I will tell you is our safety deposit box, when it was opened, sitting on top was a $1,000 market, not bond, but anyways, instrument. Yeah, exactly. So I looked at it and I offered it to the Royal Bank of Canada where we deal. And they said, oh, they didn't know what it was, right? Because this is from 1982 is when it matured. Sorry, 1982 or something was when it was purchased. It matured in 20-something. The last time the safety deposit box was actually physically entered was 2002 by June Parsons, who is a former treasurer of the church, but also secretary of the trustees. So anyways, I left it for a while. It sat. I went to Canada Trust, and they were very helpful, and they said, oh, call the Bank of Canada and whatever. I followed up with that a week ago, or a couple weeks ago, and they said, send it. You can either deal with your bank or you can send it into us. And I said, well, I'm going to send it into you because the bank didn't want to deal with it. Anyways, ends up it's about $1,000 that we are going to get at some point for this instrument that was invested by the UCW at the time a while back. So, and it earned 13%, I think, at the time. So it's like, darn, too bad it didn't keep earning. Anyway, That's a long story, but there's also a little video. If you remember, Geraldo Rivera did a opening the Titanic safe thing on TV. It wasn't very good. This is also not very good, but it's on our website if you want to have a look.
Thanks, Richard. Oh, question, Lily?
Yeah, so Enbridge approached us about a year ago, or was it a year ago? 2 years ago. Anyway, they approached us and said that they wanted to relocate a gas installation, basically a box that would manage the pressure and so on for area houses. The former site was in the parking lot, kitty corner to our building here. They wanted to relocate it. It was going to be outside by the hedge, by the edge of the parking lot here. In discussion, we moved it down to the corner. So you'll notice a bunch of bollards with a green box, and that's where it is. So it's a 4 by 5 meter parcel of land. And yeah, we were healthily compensated for that. Plus, we received some money for them using our parking lot during the construction. So it was very lucrative. So it's too bad that we don't have more little bits that we can sell off each year. So anyway, thanks. Good question.
Yeah. Joint leadership team, joint coordinating committee. I think, Richard, you had put a little piece in there. I don't know if
Yeah.
we're going to speak to that a little bit more later on, but
Yeah.
again, there's a nice concise summary in the report for reading. And then regional council, my sidekick is going to speak to that if necessary as well.
Yeah, regional council. So I've had the good fortune of being involved with regional council since its inception 2019, 2020. And I've become fairly involved with it, and I've found it really rewarding, and I feel connected with the region because of my connectedness there. That's not the case with all churches. And I know we've been in contact with the region through hiring process and that sort of thing as well. So it is something that, I value that work and so on. My term comes up in 2025. So if anybody else is interested in coming on, I know Richard Routhier is willing to continue to sit in that capacity. But if somebody else would like to come on board, I think we are allowed one person for every 100 individuals who are part of our congregations. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Richard. So then I'll ask for an adoption of committee reports as printed and distributed, unless there are any last-minute questions. Barring none, could I get a mover to approve the reports? Lois, I'm sorry. Moved by Lois, seconded by Don. Any questions? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, with regard to the joint leadership team, so when we were in the process of searching for a new minister and so on, we felt it necessary to stay connected between the two churches. So we had a joint leadership team formed. It consisted of members of the Dream Team, members of transition team, personnel, and so on. So there were individuals that were part of that. So the names are listed there. We continue to meet, or we've continued to meet, but one of the things that we'd like to do is, or that we are supposed to do, is have a joint coordinating team, and they're supposed to continue to work with Paul and Austin as we continue on the path of shared ministry and so on. So the motion, as it reads there, is that the members of the joint leadership team, names to follow, be named as members of the joint coordinating team. So basically, we were a self-appointed group, but we're asking to be appointed, I guess, as a joint coordinating team to continue that role. Our next meeting is slated for June. And again, just a chance to get together with the folks from Central and share, thoughts on ministry, etc. Any questions on that? Could I have somebody move that, make that motion? Mike Hardiman, seconded by Lil Anderson. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And carrying on, we have a motion to appoint Rod Gear to complete our financial review for 2023. He's served in that capacity for years. So fairly familiar with the books and so on, familiar with our process. Wow. Good. Good. Would somebody like to make that motion? Okay, Don. Seconded by Karen. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next on the agenda is a nomination report. And we need to formally accept the resignation of those members leaving committees and trustee positions. The names that I have down here, and there may be others, but Bill Beamish, Carolyn Lepere, Joe Hill, Joan Thomas, and Ray Bosveld. I believe those are the members that have expressed an interest to step down. I don't think there are any others. So I guess, do we need an actual motion to accept those or not? I guess
no.
Okay. Just to be aware of those names not being on the official board anymore. The second part of that is to accept the appointment of new official board members. And the only one that I've got down at this point is Mike Hardiman. And I don't believe there are any others unless someone here today.
And Bill Turvey returning.
Bill Turvey is returning. Okay, those are two names to acknowledge then. And if there are no other names being brought forward, then could I get a mover of that motion, please? Sherry Johnson, seconded by Joe Hill. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carried. Thank you.
And for the next section, we're going to ask Paul to come forward just to run this. So it's appointment of the congregational chairpersons, congregational secretary, and regional council representatives.
All right, so could I have a motion who has agreed to be the congregational chairpersons for this? Okay, so we have a motion to re-elect these two. There we go, we got motion and seconder. All in favor? Again? Carried. And congregation of congregational secretary, will that be Aaron?
Aaron is willing to serve when she's not looking after kids.
Yeah, exactly. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And appointment of regional council representative, that would be
myself and Richard Ruthier.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thanks. That doesn't discount, as I say, if somebody else wants to join the bandwagon. So, adoption of the agenda for 2023. If you could refer to that, it is on page 26, so right beside the agenda. I'll ask for a mover, seconder, and then we'll have some questions, and I'll get Don to come up and speak to that. So could I have somebody move the adoption of the budget for 2023? Chris Ross, a seconder. Okay, Esther Wendell-Carraher. And before we call for a vote, I'll get Don to just come up and if there's any questions. Or maybe stand there if there's no questions. Or do you want to make any comments too? Yeah, maybe just because for people online too. Sorry, Don.
You'll notice that, yes, we do project a loss, like we always do. And I know if I was back in business and in my division, we just start cutting until evened out, right? But two things. Obviously, we're hopeful that things are changing and things are on the way up. And secondly, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And the reality is we are investing in trying to improve things in here and hopefully get more people here. And we do have a great investment portfolio, so let's just see what happens. So that's why we're doing it that way. I figure that's the one question people might have. Why are you projecting a loss? Okay, any other questions?
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, and that's carried. Thank you.
So next on the agenda is an update on the search process. There is a summary report in the annual report of the search process to date. Chris Ross was co-chair of the search committee that was formed back in February of 2022, and he's certainly here to answer any questions. And Chris, I don't know if you wanted to provide a brief summary, perhaps?
Anytime I have the opportunity to speak in the microphone, I'm going to take that full opportunity. No. If you remember, our initial mandate was to hire 2 full-time people. We hired Paul full-time and Austin 3/4 time. So that's 1.75. We still have this 0.25 hanging over our heads, looming. We as a search committee decided we're going to wait 6 months, let the dust settle, see where we're at. Well, it's 6 months. So we have met. We're meeting with the personnel. We're meeting with the committees. We've met. We don't want to just go find somebody, fill a hole, and then find out, geez, that's not the right person. So we're not going out just looking for a 0.25. We're not going out looking for a 0.5 until we know what we want. We've identified areas that maybe we need to add some time to. Whether it is a full-time person or a half-time person or a quarter-time person or one of us, that's the question. You know, the alternate week that Paul is at the other church, we have somebody here. We take a little load off of our worship committee by having somebody here all the time. That's a need, a preacher. Our Sunday school, I felt like clapping two weeks in a row. I think we had 3 rows of kids. We have 1 or 2 teachers. We need more volunteers. You know, Austin and Paul have been here for 6 months. It's tough for them to come up and, hey, who are you? Nice to meet you. Do you want to be a Sunday school teacher? It's tough on them. But here we are 6 months. Maybe it's on to us. We need to do that. If we bring another person in, that's not going to fill that void for a while. So we need to, look at that. We're doing it, but can we do it better? Pastoral care. We are an aging congregation. Are we doing it? Can we do it better? Bring somebody in to do it, or can we do it ourselves? Central has a committee of pastoral care, and they're doing it themselves. Yeah, it's led by Reverend John, but you know what? There's still a committee doing it. Can we learn what they're doing? Do we need to hire somebody? I don't know. We're exploring it. We're talking about it. Once we get a better idea, I'll let you know. I'm not going to go look for a 0.25 or a 0.5 or anybody without you guys knowing first, getting your understanding, and getting a job description of what this person would actually look like. And as we meet and as the dust settles, but yeah. So we're in the middle of that process. We're going to meet again in early May with the M&P and just summarize everything we've come up with and see what it is we want to do. Question? Is Austin a possibility to fill in that 0.25? Nothing's off the table. Nothing is off the table. I'm not going to look at him to see him shake his head or but that's an option. That's always an option that we, it's always there. That's any other questions. If you have questions, come speak to me, send me an email, give me a call, email through Lori to me, whatever you want to do. I'd be happy to answer your questions, but right now, we're just in investigating mode and we'll see what happens. Okay?
I'll just add a few things to what Chris said. It's important to point out that while the consultation process is underway, we still need to speak to both Paul and Austin about their thoughts. Clearly, they're front and center in this exercise, plus the other staff. We had Lori offering a few comments the other night when we got together informally, but we're still reaching out to see what we think. So that opportunity, as Chris said, is open to everyone to offer their thoughts on what might they believe to be the best for this church in moving forward. So I don't think we want it to drag on forever, and there are some steps that we'll have to follow to satisfy the regional council, but we're confident that we can go through that process with their support as well. Thanks, Chris.
And moving into number 14, it's just a Q&A session. If there's anything church related that anybody had a question about, we're more than happy. You've got lots of wealth of information here, and this is probably the place to ask those questions. So and again, yeah. What about a bus driver to pick up people to church on Sunday camp? Okay, so again, is there somebody you'd like to? Oh, okay. Okay, so that's another possibility for the 0.25 to take that into account. Thanks, Rosemary.
I just want to clarify something.
Sure.
Because Austin's position is a congregational ministry position, it's at a lower pay rate than order of ministry. So although he's 3/4 time, in terms of the economics, he's half-time. So just so we're clear on that. So we still have a half-time order of ministry outstanding position in terms of budget perspective.
Yes, Sherry? Yeah, so question, just for those of you online, the question is about the windows, whether we'll have any further replacement of windows. And one of the things that I'd hoped to do a year ago was to kind of look at grant possibilities and so on. I know Pierce Williams has been really good about getting grants for all sorts of upgrades and so on. And similarly here, you know, we talked about looking at solar panels because our south side, as you know, it gets really warm in here and so on. So that's a possibility, plus the opportunity to replace windows. So the bank of windows in the classrooms from about here all the way back to the back of the church have been replaced. The school has noticed a huge difference in just the airflow during the course of the day, but also I'm sure as during the winter that it'll be warmer too. So and again, that work was just done over March break. So so yes, it is something we'd like to do, but again, we need the funding for that, and whether it's a case of doing a fundraising probably, or do something with a grant structure if we can. Yep. Yeah, the cost of the windows down here, about $1,000 for every unit, roughly. So we had $20,000 was the cost of this work down here. And then they capped the windows on the west side because there was a lot of deterioration in the bottom sills, so.
So just so the congregation is aware, some of us are making an ask that we look at whatever upgrades we need so that our live streaming is clear and shows off the level of musicality that we have in worship, since that, in my experience from my past churches, is the best way of introducing people to a church. Our market of people who would like to be in spiritual community but who've been hurt or turned off by spiritual community, it really is too big a risk for them to actually walk in the door of a church. I just want you to be aware of that. For example, a buddy of mine, tough guy, worked in the woods and he started his own company, sold it for $9 million. He was an AA leader for years, started 28 AA groups. He came to see me in Aurelia, and he said, I've been in lots of church basements, but he says, I've never been upstairs since I was a kid. And he said, I think I'd like to come. He had to see a therapist for 5 sessions before he could bring himself to walk through the doors into the sanctuary. And we got a lot of members at our last 2 churches in London by family being able to say, oh, look, and they see the message is distinctive. It's not about judgment. It's about that we are all children of God. It's about that God has placed in us the ability to love, and a music program that touches. You're so blessed to be able to touch on many different musical styles. And so anyway, that'll be something that the leadership of the church has to wrestle with in terms of what's done now and what's done next year, and that sort of thing. So just a heads up.
I'll keep going with follow-up. Just anything, Sherry, to... Yeah. So the comment from Sherry, again, just for those of you online, is, if you have a passion project, or there's a project within the church that you might have a passion for, again, just awareness so that we know that what's upcoming. I'm going to go back to Heather first, and then we'll come over to you, Lil. For sure. So again, the comment is, do we have something that outlines that? We did have a brochure that was produced, I'm going to say 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, that outlined committee work and so on. I think with the streamlined process of session and stewards, again, you might join the session and not be appointed to a specific group, but have sort of a broader range. And just so everybody knows, Heather is the individual who's sort of heading up the refugee family coordination with finances and stuff like that. So thanks, Heather. Good question. Okay, Lil? Sure. Yeah. So King's Academy came to us 2 years ago. This is their second full year of operation here at the church. The first year, the rent that they were assigned was something less than market value, obviously. And even this year, we made it a little bit more consistent with what we thought was reasonable. They also contribute to the cost of utilities, because obviously we recognize that there is increased use of electricity during the course of the day. The building's heated anyways, so it wasn't really a big increase there, but they are contributing to that. What else? Yeah, so the first year they were here, they repainted the whole bottom floor. So it was white, and it's beautiful, like it really brightens it up and so on. They did the gym as well, which was beyond their original scope. So that was probably close to $20,000, I think, in the end, because the gym was added on, of work that they did for us, or for them to enjoy the space, but us as well. I know there is a bit of a concern about them taking the space and us not being able to access it. It has impacted our ability to run like a Holly Fair or a spring rummage sale, in that, I think in the past that was done over a period of months. Whereas now, if we want to do something like that, it's Friday night, okay, bring stuff in, get set up. Saturday, have your event, clean up for Sunday, so that they're ready to go on Monday. So it just changes our outlook, I guess, and how we approach things. What else can I tell you? Is there anything else, Justin or Lori, from your perspective that? Right, and they pay a portion of the snow plowing as well. So as I say, any of the utilities. Yep. John? Yep. Right. Right. Okay. Can I? Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Can I come back to that in just a second? Is there anything else? Did I answer your question about Kings? Anybody else have a question about King's Academy first before we carry on? Yep.
Yeah, that has kind of evolved over a period of time. We were wondering how we could make that work. In the early days, trying to figure out when Dave could access lower sections of the building so that he could do what he needs to do. Ultimately, what has happened is that Kings has retained somebody as well to assist, and a person who's maybe more familiar with the schedule and the timing so that Dave can do what he needs to do otherwise and assist with what needs to be done downstairs. But thankfully, they've got someone to assist with the custodial work.
Yeah. So to come back to your question, John, so about funds and so on. So for example, the window replacement that was done, Justin sort of came up with the brainchild of doing the window, Candle in the Window, I think it was the name of the fundraiser a year ago. So that was at Christmas of 2021. So about $10,000 was raised. Following that, we had a separate donor that gave us $10,000 additionally. So that gave us $20,000 that we could use towards the windows. We had to do the capping of the windows as well. So we had to access a few funds that came out of general fund. The other thing that I'd like to see is that we don't tap into our line of credit, because currently it's what, 6%, 8%? Yep. Right. Yeah. And I guess yeah. Right. And agreed. Like, I think so right. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Again, I think for projects like physical projects, if there's grant money, it'd be nice to tap into that as much as possible so we don't have to use donor money for that. When the Candle in the Window fundraiser was done, it was specifically for window replacement. And certainly for, later in the year, we're going to need $40,000 to pay back the SEBA grant that we got from the government and so on. So yes, definitely we're looking at accessing some of the trustee funds. Obviously, if we do that, right now we're getting about $65,000 a year in investment income. If we start taking the principal away, then that money is going to drop. So then we're coming back to the congregation. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's that balancing act, right? Like again, I totally agree. We've got these funds and we have accessed them. Like the Enbridge sale was kind of a gift. Again, we sold some Suncor stock this past year to be able to provide some funds for operating costs. So there's those sorts of things, and certainly, yeah, again, we're accessing those funds as needed. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 Again, not sure if everybody heard that comment, but again, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to come back to Justin's comment first, just because we got a lot of stuff on the go here. So Justin's comment was that it's a lot easier to ask somebody for money for a project. You know, we'd like you to provide money for the memorial garden. We'd like you to provide money for windows. People are maybe a little bit more interested in supplying money for a project. A little less so to say, okay, I'm going to give money for somebody's salary, right? So that's the one comment that was made. Okay, coming back to what you had said, I'm trying to remember. Hang on. Oh, Central. Okay, so do you want to speak to that, Justin? No. So,
Well, I was just going to point out, it's really important to remember that there are two completely sets of books. So financially, and for record-keeping purposes, John, just one small part of the answer perhaps is that completely separate. Never had any intention to kind of merge the pots of money. It's completely separate. That's important to remember.
Yeah. 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 So again, for those of you online, just to fill you in, again, salaries for Paul and Austin are shared with Central. So we pay 50-50, both benefits, base salary, et cetera. So it is a cost sharing agreement. So it is slightly less. In the report, you'll notice too that worship and music, our budget is up a bit, but that's because it's covering funds for pulpit supply. So yeah, no, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, no, so I'll give you an example. I was the full-time minister at Trinity in London. Mount Zion came to us and said, can we rent Paul half-time? Why would we do that? Well, because half of the duties I was doing at Trinity weren't my gift. And so we were able to hire someone who wasn't ordained, wasn't order of ministry, cost less. They were able to do that part of my job way better than I ever could have, right? And now Trinity was getting the benefit of only having to pay half my salary. And Mount Zion was getting the benefit of having a minister that they only had to pay half because they had previously had full-time, they couldn't afford it. So the churches that are doing the best out there are doing a combination of sharing and contracting, because the old way was you expected the ordained minister to be able to do everything. Well, the reality is we can only do so many things well. So it's a very efficient and effective system, the sharing of staffing, while continuing to be independent churches.
Sure, Don? Right. Yeah, so just quickly to review. No, that's okay. Just to give everybody information, and again, Bob Floyd was really good about giving sort of a summary of the trustee funds and what happens with them. So the endowment fund typically are bequests and that sort of thing that come into the church. All those funds are available for us. Their current value at the end of December was slightly over $400,000. Again, that generates money for our operating costs and so on. If we dip into that, which we can do, so we could wipe that right out and take $400,000. But again, too, in the long run, we want to maintain that as much as possible. The Kennedy Trust was money that was given to us by Dr. George Kennedy back in the 70s. That money, an equal amount, was given to the National Church as well. So those funds are $600,000 roughly. Okay, we can't touch those funds. We can access the income from those. Building Preservation Fund was merged with the Thomas Fund this year, the W.F. Thomas Fund. So it's now the W.F. Thomas Building Preservation Fund, or Memorial Building Fund, sorry. And those funds, again, about $200,000 is what it is now. That fund was accessed when the boilers had to be replaced. The one thing that I regret, or that I think if we do major projects, it's nice to be able to come to people for those funds, okay, or access grant structure and that sort of thing, because I think those are projects that we can somehow fund. So that's a breakdown of those funds. The Ivor Fund is another one, and it typically is accessed for charities and so on, and bequests. The Kennedy Fund, all the funds from the Kennedy Fund used to go to missions and so on, activities across Canada or around the world. Those funds are now used to pay for our insurance and do other things to keep our church active. And that's all the investment funds, okay? And any of the funds other than the Kennedy Fund, we can access any of those funds at any time, if need be, and we have. Any other questions? John? Sorry, I won't pick on you. Good.
Last chance. Nothing else? Sherry?
Right. So again, the comment is just that the school does access our nursery. They use that as a learning support room. And then the music room as well, which Jody has used. And I think you work it out so that you can share that space and so on, and it doesn't interfere with what you're trying to do. Yeah. So again, and if we have meetings or whatever, if we have a board meeting or if we have need for the music room, again, you've been really good about vacating, or if we let the school know, they're good about reassigning their space. Yeah, so again, it's worked out very well so far. Karen?
Thanks, Karen. Let's close in prayer.
Yeah. One other thing too that I'm going to just mention is the regional council meets May 13th, 14th, I think it is. And there is an ordination service here at the church on May 14th, 13th, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Okay, so just so you know, so we're expecting a full house at that point. It is interesting because we're having a social event after that. So the gym is going to be the designated spot for that, just because again it's larger, but also it has the access, which the assembly hall does not. The school has been very good, and they've said, you know, if we want to use the assembly hall, they'd be more than happy to push things aside and so on. We just have to let them know. And to date, we haven't really had a need to access that. So that's why we haven't asked them to move or whatever. Thanks, Mark.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we bring our annual congregational meeting to a close, we reflect on the information shared and the meaningful discussion we've engaged in. With your guidance and direction, you've helped us to grow closer as a group, showing respect for one another with kindness and fairness to all in your presence today. We're so fortunate to have such a wonderful, thriving community of faith, and you've inspired us to do positive things in and for the life of the church, within the walls of this building, and as we reach out to the broader community of St. Thomas. At this time, we must also give thanks to the wonderful staff who lead us, Reverend Paul and Austin, plus Jody, Jerome, Don, and Lori, Don and Debbie, and to those who assist us as lay leaders, Richard, Sherry, Aaron, Chris, and to those who might assist in the weeks and months ahead. And behind the scenes, we thank you for Dave, Justin, and Morgan, plus those who volunteer their time for church camp, with others serving refreshments after service, and so many other ways. We give thanks to everyone here today. And Lord, we wish to express our gratitude to you. Be with us as we leave this place and grant us peace in our hearts. Amen.
And a motion for adjournment. Chris Ross, seconded by Mike Hardiman. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thanks so much, everyone.